You are not made to withdraw from life. You are made to lean in. Don't identify with limitation. Embrace possibility. Don't mourn what's lost. Celebrate what remains. This is not the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of what's next.
You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could.
All right. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. Did you see yourself in that video? It gets more village-centric every time we do it. And folks, this is the equation. This is the formula. This is the secret. Dream, believe, and persist. And of course, we all dream. Everybody dreams. Little dreams, big dreams. But how many of us actually believe in our dreams, so much so that we are willing to persist until we make them come true? Tonight we're going to talk about dreams. We're going to talk about dreams of healthy, active aging. We're going to talk about dreams of making a difference in the lives of others and living lives of significance. We're going to talk about dreams of reinventing ourselves when we want to. We're going to help you believe that it's possible for everybody to make the rest of their life the best of their life, no matter how old you are at this very moment. Internationally renowned researcher Dr. Vonda Wright is here. She's a leading expert on active longevity, and what she has to share with you tonight will absolutely transform your life if you allow it to. Bill Shafer, one of America's greatest storytellers, is here with his pal, Thomas McClary. Thomas was the founder and the lead guitarist of the Commodores. I believe, and please don't hold me to it, but I believe he is actually going to play what Rolling Stone magazine called one of the greatest lead guitar solos in the history of music. And he's going to share some of his secrets to making life easy like Sunday morning. Many of you watched Amy Sweezy every night, local broadcaster on the NBC station. She wasn't just good at her job. She was named the National Broadcaster of the Year. But then she walked away. Why did she quit at the top of her career? And what can we learn from her experience? We will find out tonight. But first, I want to introduce you in a moment to Quinn Baumogé. Quinn, like many people, became fascinated with Dancing with the Stars, but she had never danced a step in her life. But somehow, she convinced her husband, Rick, who is a professor at Rollins, to enroll in beginner dance classes at Arthur Murray. And by all accounts, they were not good. But Quinn had discovered a passion she never knew she had, and she was determined to get good. And very quickly, Rick couldn't keep up with her, and he kindly stepped aside so she could get a new partner. And that's when Mieczysław Vaslav stepped in. They clicked. He helped her get better. He helped her improve, and they made it all the way to the quarterfinals of America's Got Talent. But they didn't stop there. They became one of the very best dance teams in the world, competing against and beating some of the top professional teams anywhere that had members that could have been Quinn's grandchildren. Quinn is now 76 years old. She is here with Misha tonight, and they are going to demonstrate what can happen when you dream, you believe, and you persist.
God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and that others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung. And may you stay forever young. And may you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous and upright and be strong. May you stay forever young, and may you stay forever young, forever young, forever young, and may you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy. May your feet always be swift. May you have a strong foundation when the winds of change shift. May your heart always be joyful. May your song always be sung. And may you stay forever young.
All of our lives have many ups and downs, but when things are going good, work harder. Dream it, believe it, be it.
Forever young, forever young, and may you stay forever young, forever young, forever young, and may you stay forever young, and may you stay forever young.
Oye, y ese pico. Es que la rumba es sabrosa y se goza. Ahora Diego es que así es la cosa. Ahora sí que me pongo sabrosa.
Quinn and Misha, thank you very much. Quick question. What is the moral of your story, Quinn?
Well,
Takes a while to catch your breath at any age. What do you want us to know?
I want everybody to know, your life is not ended when you're 76. It's just beginning.
Yeah. Amen, sister. And she doesn't just talk about it. She's actually written about it. She became a first-time author at the age of 75, publishing her memoir. It's called Fearless Girl, From Rice Field in Thailand, I believe, to Hollywood's biggest stage, and there's copies of the book that she'll be happy to sign for you afterwards. But Misha, let me ask you, what's it like dancing with this 76-year-old?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. She keeps me on my toes, and she keeps me in my best shape ever. So thank you for that, Quinn.
What have you learned from her about aging?
Just the age is just a number, and if you keep your mind fresh and young, then your body will follow.
Amazing lesson. Thank you so much for all of this tonight. Way to go, guys. So how many of you would like to live to be 100? Under any circumstance? You see, that really is the deal, isn't it? Who wouldn't want to if we could be active and happy and healthy? There are just over 1 billion people on the planet today that are over the age of 60. Within 25 years, there will be 2.1 billion people on the planet that are over the age of 60. This is a unprecedented demographic explosion of older adults that will challenge our society in every conceivable way. Healthcare, Social Security, pensions, housing, literally everything. And there are scientists and researchers who are now saying, primarily due to advances in biotech, that for every day we are able to stay alive, we will gain 5 hours of extra life expectancy. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to be a good 5 hours, which really is the dilemma, which is why the World Health Organization has put out an urgent call asking for strategies to help improve the health span of older adults. Not just so that we can enjoy our lives longer, and not just so that we can save our own money in healthcare costs, but so we don't cripple society. And that's why Dr. Vonda Wright is here this evening. Because the future of healthcare, without question, is personal, it's preventative, it is participatory, and it is precision. And she's an expert on all of that. She is an orthopedic surgeon. And did you know, she told me earlier, that just 6% of all orthopedic surgeons in the United States are women. Just 6%. The good news is that's up from 3% not long ago. She is a pioneering researcher in mobility and musculoskeletal aging. What she has done is helping transform not just what we think about aging, but how we treat aging. She's the founder of PRIMA, which is the Performance and Research Initiative for Masters Athletes. She's the author of 5 different books. She's the host of the podcast Hot for Your Health. She is the go-to expert for almost every major media network. And I think Quinn would be happy to hear this. She's also a former competitive ballroom dancer. She still runs. She'll put in a half marathon every now and then. And I understand she just completed her first ever Spartan obstacle race at the age of 56. So let's welcome Dr. Vonda Wright.
Thank you so much, Mark. Wow, it's a real honor to be here with you tonight. I feel like I know you. We spend quite a bit of time in the villages. And if any of you have ever competed at the National Senior Games, your data might be here tonight. So, I have spent my career, Mark, thinking about how we can age better. What does it mean to live long and prosper? Will I age in the same way that I saw my grandmother who immigrated here from China age? Is that my destiny? Well, you know what? I've spent my entire career thinking about it. What will happen in my own aging, in your own aging? And you know what I've come to believe? I do not believe that we are the victims of the passage of time. I do not believe that you are the victims, the helpless victims of the passage of time. I do not believe that I am the victim of a passage of time. Because 2 weeks ago I was in Tampa climbing over some stupid obstacle and getting all muddy. I don't know what I was thinking, but I do not believe that I am the victim of the passage of time. So tonight I'm going to present to you a little research in the most entertaining way I possibly can. And I'm going to give you 3 tips so that you can implement what I've learned from studying people just like you. But I often wonder, where in tarnation did I come up with the belief that we can be healthy, vital, active, joyful, long into the foreseeable future? Where did that come from? Well, I grew up in a time, maybe like you guys grew up, where parents could just take their kids and put them out in the middle of town and say, I'll be back in 30 minutes and you wait right here, and it would be just fine, right? So my dad is a lifelong runner, and I remember in our little town in Fredonia, Kansas, he would take me to the races and he'd say, stay right here. It's only a 5K. I'm going to be back in 20 minutes. So I would stay right there and I would cheer him in, and we would pet the neighborhood dogs. And then all the racers would come in, but nobody was leaving because everybody kept going like this. And I didn't know what we were looking for, but we kept looking like this. And we would be looking, and all of a sudden somebody would say, there she is. Here comes Millie Hartung. She's coming down the road. Millie Hartung was my first example of an elderly person running in a race. And in the 70s, it was such an anomaly that when Millie Hartung finally pulled up past the finish line in Fredonia, Kansas, all the other runners exploded in applause. Well, it was such an anomaly at that time in the 70s. Millie was really only 63. I mean, she had hardly begun living, right? But, it's an example. And as a child, you think, let's just keep on running until forever, right? Or maybe it came from being a doctor and being able to take care of amazing people like Banana George Blair. Have you ever heard of him? Yeah. He was, the story goes, I hope it's true, but the lore is, he was a banker, he retired early, he decided to stay active. He had a house in New York, London, and Cypress Gardens where he was a slalom barefoot skier, right? Wow, at 92. I know. Or maybe it's because, I've already mentioned him, right? My own father, Gene Wright, who's here somewhere, I can't see him tonight, who is now 82 years old, has been a lifelong master's athlete, and he was an endurance runner. And he would be gone so long, my mom and I would be like, where is this man? But this is him at 68, running his last marathon. And even though now he has a total hip, I always warn the people in Lake Nona, don't you run over my dad. So I have never believed that we are the victim of the passage of time. I have never believed that we have to go from the vitality of youth down some slippery slope to frailty and do nothing about it and die for 20 years. I have never believed that. Maybe it was Millie. Maybe it was Banana George. Maybe it was my own father. I believe we can be healthy, vital, active, joyful, long into the foreseeable future. But I'm a scientist, and I did not want to just take it from the fitness chicks that this is how we could live. So I have spent my whole career investigating ways that we can save mobility, and in doing so, save us all from the ravages of chronic disease. Because this is what's happening, people. Our life expectancy has increased. In the 1900s, men lived to about 40. We actually don't know how long women live because there was no data kept on us. Men live to about 40. Now we are marching out, and our life expectancy on average is 80. Life expectancy, not our health expectancy. Our health span right now is about 63. That is when the ravages of chronic disease rear their ugly heads. But I'm going to show you 3 studies today that will hopefully prove to you and pivot your mindset that you are not destined to go from vitality to frailty. And then I'm going to give you 3 tips that just may save your life. How about that? I have so much inspiration every day. Have you ever seen more amazing looking people? If this is not the reason to get up and go to work today, I don't know. These are all my patients. They are healthy, they are vital, they are active, they are joyful. They are not the victims of the passage of time. So, what is the secret sauce? What is the one thing that you take away today to know that you are a powerful force in your own health? Well, I could tell you about the 5 pillars of health, and if we had 3 hours and Mark would let you, I would, but I do not. The one thing that can save your life is your lean muscle mass. What? My lean muscle mass? You mean just flexing my biceps, doing a few squats is going to save my life? Yes, it is. There is nothing more metabolically important. From a strength perspective, more important. From a function perspective, more important. All these things that you see here listed are the one that lean muscle mass can give you. And here's the good news. You were born with 650 muscles. And I just want to point out, you may never have seen lean muscle magnified 56,000 times. This is what striated lean muscle looks like. It's a picture I took in college because I am just that geeky. I spend my Saturdays under a microscope taking pictures of muscle. So what is the science? What is the science of healthy, vital, active, joyful using muscle? Well, remember I said I study masters athletes? And I started studying masters athletes at the National Senior Games in 2004. So you may see yourself. So question number 1, can we really maintain our lean muscle mass across our lifespan? Well, I'm going to give you the punchline. Yes, you can if you invest every day. You do not have to be a professional athlete. You can be a mere mortal athlete like me, struggling to get over the stupid obstacles, but we must invest in our mobility every day. And what this slide shows you on this side is what a 40-year-old's thigh looks like. Full of muscle, robust, very little fat, not marbled at all, right? It's a flank steak, not a Colby beef, right? In the middle is what happens to us if we sit around for 35 years. We lose our muscle architecture. We build huge rinds of fat. Fat is not just hanging off in inconvenient places. It is a noxious metabolic organ that's throwing off all kinds of chemicals that are going to kill you. But what happens, my friends, if you do like Quinn or all the other athletes that I take care of and invest every day in your mobility? You get to keep your lean muscle mass. This is the thigh of a 70-year-old triathlete. Very lean, very flank steakish, very strong, so that this person does not fall down from a standing position and break their hip, right? Number 1, can you maintain your lean muscle mass? Yes, you can. Number 2, but can we do it deep inside at a cellular level? Stem cells are all the rage. I had a stem cell lab for 20 years at the University of Pittsburgh. And you may have never seen stem cells before. Growing in culture, 2 cool things I'm showing you tonight, right? These are stem cells. Just take a look. You can tell all your friends, I saw stem cells tonight. They were alive in a petri dish. Doc Wright showed me. We know that we can rejuvenate stem cells, and I'm going to tell you how. So in my lab, I had these little old lady mice. They were 2 years old. They were just hanging out in the side of their cages waiting on their next mouse pellets, mouse chow. But we took them and we sampled their stem cells. And we found that the poor little mice stem cells were no longer round and fat and happy. They were no longer pouring off growth factors, and in fact, they had programmed themselves to die. But we took these little mice and we put them on mouse treadmills. I know, can you imagine mouse treadmills? And we ran them twice a day for 2 weeks, and then we resampled their stem cells, and do you know what we found? The cells were fat and happy. They were spilling out growth factors, and they had turned off the mechanisms to death. We know by this experiment, and many others that followed, that we can change the trajectory of our health, not only on a physical level, at tissue level, but at a stem cell level. That is hopeful, my friends. So we live in the most remarkable time to age in the history of people. We are no longer just watching and observing, but we can design precision programs for you and you, so that your program is not like yours or not like yours, because we are genetically different from the inside out. We can harness the molecular science of aging, we can prescribe precision lifestyle, and we can pivot our attitudes so that we do not believe that we are the victims of progression of time, but can pivot to healthy, vital, active, joyful. So how are we going to do that? Okay, here is your advice. 3 things only that you can do, and I hope next time I drive through the villages, I see y'all doing it. Number 1, I want you to lift heavy weights. Put down the little mamby-pamby pink weights, please. I want you to lift as heavy as your bones will let you for 3 to 6 reps. That's it. It's easy peasy. It really is. It takes all the work out. This is how you build stem cells. This is how you build mitochondria, which are the powerhouses. And this is how you're not going to fall down from a standing position and break your hip. Number 2, I want you to work in 20 jumps a day. You could do it just like this. This works 20 times. You could go up and down stairs. You could jump rope if you want. That will build better bones. Lift heavy and jump up and down. You thought it was going to be hard, didn't you? Not hard. Number 2, there is a myth in this country that you have to gut it out and sweat it out in all these boot camps to get really healthy and fit. Not true. Pro athletes spend 80% of their time in base training, which for us as mere mortal athletes is basically a brisk walk, getting our heart rates up, 45 to 60 minutes a day, and twice a week you speed it up and sprint a little. That gathers a lot of power in our muscles. So that's 3 things: lift heavy, do plyo, and base train, and sprint a little. I'm going to give you a bonus. If you want to stay really, really, really healthy, we want to eliminate sugar spikes. So if you're sugar addicted like me, this is hard, but I've done it and you can do it too. We want a flat glucose curve, because look at all the benefits. Every health problem that you can think of is modified by eliminating refined sugar and eating green leafy and lean protein. I wear a continuous glucose monitor because I'm just geeky like that and I like the data. This is what a flat glucose curve looks like. This comes from eating 1 gram of protein per lean body pound a day. So for me, it's about 130 grams a day. So you figure out your own math. Those are the 4 tips. So as we think about it, and we think about my premise that was formed in me as a child, that I do not have to get feeble. I can be like Millie Hartung, where we're all looking for her and celebrating her victory of crossing the 5K. We can be healthy, vital, active, joyful. I have spent my career understanding that aging, from the minute of our conception to the moment of our death, is the most natural part of living. And that instead of looking behind our shoulder to our 20s and 30s and 40s and saying, oh, those are the good times, we pivot to now, understanding that there are real science-backed ways that we can live the life we envision. And today I've given you tools so that you understand in the very simple way how to save your mobility and therefore save your own lives. Thank you so much for having me.
It is great to know there are people like Dr. Vonda Wright out there, because we all need, some tough love. And let's face it, we have to move. We have to continue to move. But here's the truth. The biggest levers we all have to impact the way we age are not biological. They are not technological. They are not pharmacological. They are psychological. This is the biology of belief. Changing what we believe is possible is the first step in changing what is possible. So we have to believe that more is possible. So let's talk about this guy for just a second. We've all heard of Antonio Stradivarius. This is a guy who made half of the most valuable instruments in the history of humankind back in the 1700s, violins that sell for $20 million a piece. And two of the most famous ones, two of the most valuable ones that this guy created, he made after the age of 90. So how could he do this when we're supposed to have diminishing physical skills of all sorts, diminishing dexterity as we get older? He was able to do it because he started doing it very, very young. He very quickly got to doing it at a very high level, and he never stopped doing it. Human beings are use it or lose it machines. Physical skills will decline rapidly as we age if we don't use them, but if we do, what we're learning from people like Dr. Vonda Wright is that more is possible. The boundaries of possibility are being extended each and every day. You might have seen this video. According to the National Senior Games, it was seen 980 million times.
Here we go.
I shot it. Excuse the shaky camera work. I flew to Louisiana to watch 105-year-old Julia Hawkins become the oldest person in history to compete in a sanctioned track and field event. I talked to her about it before she ran, and she said, I really don't want to do it. It's hard to stand still at 105. She said, I'm afraid a lot of bad things can happen. But I said, so why are you doing it? She said, I want to make a point. And the point is that more is possible. And the point is, if you want to keep moving, you have to keep moving. That is her purpose. She's 106 years old today. Purpose is key. A recent research project found that 92% of all retirees say purpose is key to a successful retirement, which is what we love about a new residence club here in the Villages. It's called Boulder in the Villages. And what we love about this club is it's really kind of a service club. It's a club that supports not only the dreams and ambitions of one another, but they help anybody they can to be the best that they can. So we made this club a deal. And here's the deal. Every month, the club picks a nonprofit from here in the Villages. They choose them and they give us the name, and then we show up and we produce a video. A 3 to 4 minute editorial video. And when we do a video, it's not an advertisement. We want to produce a video that we can share on our media platform. A video that will inspire everybody that sees it. And we believe that's the best kind of advertising you can have. So we show up, we produce the video, we give it to the nonprofit. It's theirs. They can do anything they want with it. And then we, Growing Boulder, and the Boulder in the Villages Club share it as far and as wide as we can in an effort to spread the word about what this nonprofit is doing and to share their needs in case anybody is anxious to help. And here's a very short clip of some of the nonprofits that the Boulder in the Villages Club selected this year and that we've already done.
We all have that need to make a difference. This is more than just volunteering. To me, it's my mission.
At this age, you have to believe that there's still opportunities ahead of you.
It's a take world, now it's a give world. If you volunteer, you're giving.
TLC stands for Transition Life Consultants. Feelings need to come out, and we've got the skills, the love, and the caring to help people.
I am so tired of people being bullied, and especially in school.
To find the good kids, yeah, that know how to stand up to somebody else and to take them under their wing.
Okay, what do you say?
Rock on.
You bet, you got it.
I see them come in here and their whole persona changes. I can do, I am important, I can contribute, I am achieving.
The mission is really to help the kids navigate the real world after high school in a positive way. And we like to do that through programs that talk about core values and life skills.
She cares, like she's always gonna be by my side. If I wasn't in this program, I probably wouldn't have had this many opportunities.
Get the keys. That's it. We train service dogs to be placed with veterans, but we partnered with Department of Corrections back in 2011, and so we help the inmates, and in turn, they help the veterans.
This program is just giving me back. It's giving me a sense of stability, purpose, drive, ambition.
I can't imagine life without him now. He's changed my life, he's changed my family's life, he's been a huge impact.
This was something that most people would never do.
We're both certified dementia practitioners.
Yeah.
We provide a safe and supportive atmosphere where they can have fun. The key here is not entertainment, it's engagement.
This is fun. This is living, being with other people. Live each day, and enjoy.
How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Hi, I'm Bill Shafer. How are you? Every single clip you saw in that piece is from a charity, as Mark said, here in the Villages, one that we wouldn't have known anything about if it wasn't for the Boulder in the Villages Club. There are a bunch of members here tonight. Would you guys want to stand and give us a big wave? The Boulder in the Villages Club, looking for new members. Please be sure to give them your consideration. Dick Boyden, are you here? Come on up if you are, because I want to tell you guys about one of those organizations just to give you an example and to help you understand why we love this club and why this is something that's so important and so much fun to all of us. One of those organizations is called Our Moment Cafe. And this is Dick Boyden. He and his wife started this. How are you, Dick?
I'm fine, thank you.
Everybody say hi to Dick. Say hi to them.
Hi.
So listen, what Mark talked about dream, believe, and persist. What was the dream?
The dream was to help a part of our population that resources never really covered. And so part of our life has been looking at what's not there.
What's missing.
It's what's missing. And finding how it can be done.
Now, what we learned, Dick, from visiting you and doing that story is Our Moment Cafe is for those with dementia and, maybe even more important, the caregivers. Because your world begins to shrink when you become a caregiver. You don't want to go out. You really can't. You can't really hang out with friends. You know, it's a difficult situation. Joan and Dick have created a place where they can go and experience joy and be themselves.
And also restore the relationship.
Wow.
So for once a month, they're able to have the relationship of husband-wife, mother-daughter, rather than caregiver and care receiver.
So we come out and do this story for you, thanks to the Boulder in the Villages Club. Does it make a difference?
It's made a difference in the people that we have had part of the program. And I want to say thank you to Growing Bolder, because since that video, and we've been able to put it on our website, we have actually doubled the size of the program. Not only that, but we've also been helping other organizations create their own cafe, which I think putting it not only in the villages, but also in the outskirts. So we have one being created in Ocala, one in Oxford. We've had other inquiries from other organizations that want to begin their own.
From a little bit of exposure. Do you see how important that is? And the one last thing, Dick, I want to make clear to everybody, we're all capable of making a difference. How old are you?
82.
82, and he is spreading this organization. It'll be a model throughout the country, Our Moment Cafe. Please check the story out on growingbolder.com. Visit the Boulder in the Villages Club and maybe sign up for it and see all the magic that happens here. Any final words, Dick?
I want to just thank Growing Bolder, and I want to thank our support, because since that video, we've had a tremendous interest in people donating to keeping the dream alive and to sustain it. In particular, the Santoro Foundation made a tremendous donation, about $10,000, that we would have never had believed possible. So we want to thank each and every one of you for not only your interest, but your support. We also want to point out that Growing Bolder has also helped our volunteer effort, because I think what it has shown is that people have a way of being able to demonstrate their compassion for this particular area, but also it shows that age is not a limitation for doing so.
And it starts with people like Dick Boyden, and it's carried on by people like you. Thank you, Dick. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dick. We'll get back with Bill Shafer in just a minute, but I just love what these guys are doing, because research shows that people with a strong sense of purpose are happier and healthier as they age, and Dick is certainly a great example of that. Research also shows that the benefits of purpose are magnified when it's a shared purpose, which is really what makes the 3,000 residence clubs in the villages so valuable and so unique and so powerful. And, I always feel like we've got to give a disclaimer, and I think Vonda Wright did a good job. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to run a marathon. You don't have to have a big dream. You don't have to have a huge purpose. Little purpose is important. Sharing knowledge, improving your health, small acts of kindness. Any of these things are great purposes that benefit all, that deliver all of the benefits of any kind of purpose. Let's get back to Bill Shafer and give him his due, because I mentioned that he's a great storyteller. In truth, he's one of America's elite storytellers. He's won just about every storytelling award that there is. He always shoots for the heart, and he nails it. Telling stories about purpose is his passion. Helping people improve their lives is his purpose. This is the guy, I like to call him the Ted Lasso of youth hockey. Because he is, in truth, a championship youth hockey coach. And he helps the kids on his hockey team not just be great on the ice, but to be great human beings. What a great purpose that is. What a difference he's making, not just for these kids in the future, but for our society as a whole. Bill's other personal passion, if you will, is music, which is why we created what is really an entertaining and inspiring franchise that we put on our entire media platform that's called Boulder Backstage. So let's bring in Bill Shafer and let him tell you a little bit about that. Billy?
Thank you, Mark. All right, everybody, get your skates on and do 2 quick laps around the ring. On, 2 quick laps. So much fun. The kids actually listen to you. Growing Bolder. Have you seen the TV show? Have you heard the radio show? on WMFV here in the Villages? Have you seen the magazine? Everybody gets one here tonight, complimentary. Make sure you take one home and check it out because you'll be inspired, you'll be touched. Inside are the stories of people, from ordinary everyday people to big celebrities. And do you know who has some of the most interesting stories? Rock stars. Rock stars, when you think about it, they're artists whose medium is emotion. They tell stories. And I happen to know one of the kindest, smartest, most creative, most caring, most compassionate, wittiest musicians out there. And you know him too, even though you may not even know him. Have you ever heard the song Easy Like a Sunday Morning? Have you ever heard Sail On? Have you ever heard 3 Times a Lady? How about Brick House? You know who I'm talking about? Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the founder of the Commodores, the guitar player, and a man who had a hand in almost every one of their hits, Mr. Boulder himself, Thomas McClary. He's here. He's in the house.
Yo, roof, roof, roof.
Thomas, what are you, I mean, it's not like this isn't the Villages is a place to be, but why did you consent to come in here and helping us with the show tonight?
Well, Bill, I got to tell you, when you called and I learned that it was going to be a day after Memorial's Day, I wanted to come and just show my appreciation for all you great citizens out there and what you have done for the infrastructure of this country. And in fact, I have a little tribute I'd like to just...
Now? You want to do
Can I
something
do it now?
Well, is it going to take long?
No, it's going to just a few 2 minutes, all right? Let me just do this.
Thank you and good night, everybody. No. Wow, that was great.
Cancel Christmas.
That was great. Thomas McClary. You know what? A lot of you may not know about Thomas McClary. You're local. You grew up like right here.
Absolutely. In fact, I grew up right down the streets in Eustis, Florida. Yes.
Did you know that? Did you know that Thomas is famous for something other than being a rock star? That back when he was getting ready to go to high school, it's a tough time, he became the first African American to go to his all-white school. Tell me about that.
Well, you know what?
How about that? He's in the history books in Florida.
Well, just like Dr. King, I had a dream. And I literally dreamed that I was going to be the first black to do this. And I woke up that morning and I told my mom and my dad. She said, well, son, are you still dreaming? And of course, it was an intentional act that was strategic. And I'm so happy that I was able to fulfill that dream because as a result, it built resilience, and it allowed me to deal with what I had to deal with in the music business.
And in the rest of your life. And so
yes.
Here's T-Mac. He goes from high school here in Central Florida. He decides to go to college at the Tuskegee Institute. And you had a dream. What was your dream there?
Well, speaking of dreaming, I was dreaming that I was going to start a band and we were going to be the Black Beatles.
So here you are at Tuskegee, right? And to be the Black Beatles, you need a band.
That's it.
So he's picking out players to be in the band. He chose every single Commodore, including the guy in the middle. Do you recognize the guy in the middle? Tell me who it is in 1, 2, 3. This is the man who discovered Lionel Richie. Tell us how you met him.
You know, it was amazing. I was standing in the registration line. I didn't know anybody. And I thought, man, wouldn't it be great maybe if I could put a band together for the freshman talent show? And if nothing else, it'd be a way of meeting some girls. Worst case, you know. And so I hear this guy whistling a song by Eddie Harris. Eddie Harris is a jazz artist, and he was a saxophonist. And he was whistling all of the nuances of the song. So I turned to him. I said, hey, man, are you a musician? He was very shy. He looked down. No, not really. I said, well, I'm looking for some musicians to be in a talent show. He says, well, I'm not really a musician, but I live here locally in Tuskegee, and I know some guys. And I can invite those guys maybe to my grandmother. She may not be, mind you using her basement to audition the guys. I was like, oh, wow, that's a good gesture. Sure enough, I go to his grandmother's, and he comes down this, while I'm auditioning the guys, he comes down the stairway playing a saxophone. I was like, dude, I thought you said you weren't a musician. I play a little bit. You're in the band.
And is it true, Thomas, that he was just a sax player? He didn't ever think of singing until you heard something one morning. What was that?
In fact, he was in the shower.
There's hope for all of you. Thomas McClary may discover you in your shower tomorrow morning.
And he was singing in the shower a song by Jerry Butler. I was go, hey, man, because our original lead singer had gotten drafted in the Vietnam War, and we were in the process of breaking up and disbanding. I said, listen, guy, you can sing. Well, he says, T-Mac, you got to remember now, at the freshman talent show, I hid behind the curtains when we performed. I was stage frightened. I go, well, guess what, buddy? You're going to sing, and tonight is going to be your debut.
And how cool is that? Let's fast forward a little bit to the two of these guys really hit it off. They became like brothers. One of the breakthrough songs they recorded was a song called Easy Like Sunday Morning. Sunday morning. How's that, everybody? And as Mark said before, Rolling Stone magazine named that as one of the greatest rock guitar solos ever. Ever.
And thanks to you for supporting that music that made it the greatest. Thank you. We love you.
And just to show you it wasn't a flash in the pan, these guys did it again and again and again. Take a look at the video.
Sail on down the line, ain't it funny how the time can go on? When can say they told me so, but it doesn't matter. It was plain to see that a small town boy like me just wasn't your cup of tea. I was wishful thinking.
Man, could you listen to that all night long? Oh man, that 1977.
That was before you were born, Bill.
And it's still as gorgeous as today. Now, here's something, Icarus, what was the story there? He flew too close to the sun and his feathers melted and he came crashing down. You would have thought this would have been the best period in the Commodores, hit after hit, but instead it's human nature to kind of have jealousies and some envy, and the band kind of was rubbed the wrong way by the success that you had.
Well, I was being the man in the middle, and, of course, recruiting all the guys. Lionel Richie and I began to write for other artists. We wrote songs for Kenny Rogers, Diana Ross with the Endless Love movie, Whitney Houston. And, of course, we tried to create a synergy where everybody would feel comfortable. But just like anything, you start to grow apart. And, of course, Lionel and I said, to each other one day, you know what? This welfare program is not working. You got to let people earn their rights. And so as he went his separate way, I went my separate way. And, of course, the love for the guys, though, will always be there.
So one of the hardest things any of us can do in life is walk away from something. It's like you guys did from your own hometowns when you moved here to the Villages. That's a big decision, and not everybody thought you're doing the right thing, right?
That's right.
So Thomas, you walked away to do what? What did you want to do with your life?
Well, there's always pivotal moments in your life. And that's not meaning that that's the end. That's just the beginning of something new. And I had a chance when I walked away now to spend time really touching people's lives in different ways. In terms of raising money for charities, we've raised over $50 million over 10 years, working with all sorts of charities that earmarks children that suffer diseases like lupus and arthritis, children that have enlarged hearts, cancer, and of course education. Every Monday after the Masters, we get with Hootie and the Blowfish to raise money for their causes. And of course, in the process, we've written a book, and there's going to be a movie based on the book.
Man, and it's a heck of a story. You have a beautiful wife. You've raised an incredible family. Some of your children are musicians as well.
Oh, thank you, Bill.
And spreading the music that you played, it's still on the radio every single day. It's unbelievable. One song that people don't hear on the radio,
yes,
is my favorite Commodore song. Thomas, would you do a little bit?
Oh, that's so kind of you.
Guys, you want to hear a little bit of my favorite Commodore song ever? Maybe you'll know it, huh?
Okay, this song is called High on Sunshine.
Woo.
High on sunshine, light my way. I am high on sunshine, take all my blues away. Woo!
Can you leave us with a takeaway? What have you learned? God, what a seat you've had in this game of life. What have you learned that we can learn from you that's really important?
Well, love is the greatest gift. And if we can see each other and honor each other, because God created us all in his own image. And if we can honor the image of God that's in each of us, we will, and respect the fact that we all have destinies and dreams, and never ever give up on your dreams, and having it be intentional and strategic and resilient. Because, hey man, I feel like I'm 19. and And when you surround yourself with that positive energy and pursue with the same vigor that you had when you were 19, because, hey, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
You say all the time, Thomas, that you feel now, age 70, how old, 72?
Well, technically I'm 73, but...
Okay, but you say all the time, I feel in life the same way I felt when I was birthing the Commodores.
That's exactly right.
That kind of excitement and anticipation. Keep that feeling in your life to when you were on the verge of doing what it is that you love. Thomas McClary, ladies and gentlemen.
Love you guys.
How about that?
Thank you, Thomas. I just met Thomas tonight. Of course, knew of him, but I'd never met him. Hey, Thomas, is it okay if I start calling you T-Mac now? T-Mac, T-Mac! T-Mac it is. He took us back to the 70s, and then he took us to church. Took us to church. I appreciate that. Yes, thank you so much. That was fun. Thomas really is one of the lucky ones. These are the kind of people that I've always envied. Those who found what they love, their passion and their purpose early in life. And even though their life took twists and turns, it was that passion and purpose that always provided an opportunity for a meaningful what's next. But many of us struggle to find our passion, struggle to find our purpose. And maybe what we love, for some reason we don't love anymore. And we have to make a change. And if we're looking for encouragement, this room aside, this community aside, you're not going to find it in the media. I mean, have you noticed that all of the advertising, all of the media for younger people is about ambition and opportunity, and all of it that targets older people is about our fear and our insecurities. Risking anything can become difficult, and we feel trapped. And Amy Sweezy was trapped. I like to say, I don't know if she's ever heard me say this, but I like to say she was trapped in a gilded cage. She was a beloved on-air personality. She had a sweet salary. She had a clothing allowance. She had a glamorous job, but something was missing. She wrote two award-winning books. She was named National Broadcaster of the Year, but yet something was missing. And it is trite, but it is true. When you got nothing to lose. But when you have all of that, it ain't easy. So how did she walk away at the top of her career? Why did she walk away at the top of her career, and how is it going? I know she's going to give us the unvarnished truth. My friend, Amy Sweezy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here in the Villages tonight. And Mark, by the way, the clothing allowance, that went away years So my 25-year TV weather career actually began by accident. When I left my TV weather career in 2020, it was not an accident. I walked away of my own free will, despite what my coworkers said, despite what a lot of viewers said, and many called me crazy. First, my accidental beginning. Unlike a lot of my colleagues, I did not have a tornado tear through my town when I was a kid and decide from that moment on, I'm going to be a weather woman someday. I didn't build weather radios in my parents' basement. I went to college the first time to be a newspaper writer. And my sort of turn into TV weather came about in a sort of roundabout way with some twists and turns, but it did send me back to college for a second time in order to get my meteorological training. I learned early on that it's really important to not pass up an opportunity just because it's not exactly what you want, because really you never know where it might lead, and that's kind of what was going on with me. Now, my path from news over to weather was not an easy one. It wasn't a straight path. There were lots of twists and turns, and I can tell you there were a whole lot of no's from potential bosses telling me I could not make it on TV and I needed to find a job behind the scenes. But I buckled down. I knew I had to go back to school, and so I'm like, okay, I have to do the work. So even though I had fallen into this career by accident, I knew that I had to do the work in order to reap the rewards. After all, I was raised by a working mom and a former Marine who was a Vietnam vet, and there was no way that I was going to be an uneducated woman working in a science field dominated by men and be called a weather girl for the rest of my career. So for me, going back to school really wasn't an option. I knew that I needed to go, and I needed to sort of reinvent myself, if you will. And little did I know that reinventing myself then in my 20s, all of those lessons that I learned, they were going to come in quite handy for me nearly 30 years later when I left my full-time job to pursue something more. So yes, I did get into this career by accident, but my what's next, choosing my what's next a couple of years ago, that was not an accident. Now, it was not easy. It was probably the most difficult decision that I've ever had to make in my life. I was scared to death. Now, of course, hindsight's 20/20, right? So now I can look back and say, oh, best decision ever. But at the time, it was tough. I took a huge chance. I took a leap off of a cliff. I followed my heart instead of my head, and I made this huge change right on the cusp of turning 50. So that's the best thing about reinvention. It doesn't have an expiration date. You can reinvent yourself at any age. Life is not over when you're 50. Life isn't over when you're 60. Life is not over when you're 70, 80, 90, 100, beyond. Life is over when it's over, right? I understand that not everyone gets to make this choice. They don't get to leave their job of their own free will on their own terms. I didn't take it for granted. In fact, I assumed that I would eventually be pushed out of my job, like so many women in TV are. I mean, really, think about it. How many 60-year-old women do you see anchoring a local TV newscast? Not very many. How about a chief meteorologist, 60-year-old female? Yeah, me neither. How many 60-year-old men do you see anchoring a newscast or chief meteorologist? Yeah, I lost count too. Here's the thing, this is not a slam on men, not at all. This is a slam on the industry that values longevity and experience and even wrinkles and gray hair in men, but it despises the same thing in women. Thank you. And ladies, let me offer up this side note. Almost every email that I received, 90% of the emails I received criticizing my hair, my clothes, my makeup, something about my appearance that was negative that had nothing to do with my forecasting ability, it almost always came from a woman. She was almost always over the age of 50, and she just needed to share her opinion. Ladies, let's build each other up, right? Let's do it. Friends who are over 50, let's encourage each other. Let's encourage our pursuits and not get caught up in this ageist mindset that we've been taught our entire lives and that's all pervasive in our culture. So instead of being forced out, right, or not having my contract renewed, I left before that may or may not have happened to me. I didn't really know for sure, but I started planning and thinking and figuring out and making my pros and cons lists. And for about 2 years, my husband and I sat down with our budget and said, can I do this? Nope, we can't. Oh, maybe, nope, I mean, this was a tough decision to walk away. And while we were going through this, I truly had no idea where I was going to end up. Of course, add in a pandemic where suddenly I couldn't even be in public places anymore, and that kind of changed things up for me as well. So I didn't really know what's next was going to be when I walked away from this job. And let me tell you, was I filled with the yes buts. Ever heard of a yes but? This is a conversation that we have with ourselves quite often. Yes, she quit her job to pursue her passion to paint, but she doesn't have any kids. Yes, he left corporate America to go write his book, but his wife is a doctor. Yes, they sold their house and they bought an RV and they're touring around the country, but their parents left them a huge inheritance. Yes, but. The yes, but conversation will always convince you that others can do what you cannot. The yes, but conversation will always convince you that others deserve what you do not. Don't rob yourself of an opportunity because of a yes, but. So yes, a lot of people thought I was crazy to walk away from this great, what they thought was a lucrative job with supposedly a clothing allowance, but But a lot of it was that they were focused on what I was giving up instead of on what I was gaining. And I was focused on what I was gaining. I was giving up a 10 and 12-hour workday and a 50 and 60-hour work week to gain more time with my family. I was giving up working weekends and holidays and every time there was a tornado warning to choose my own schedule. I gave up waking up at 2 a.m. every day, living in a constant state of tired, to sleep like a normal person and go to bed when normal people go to bed, right? I gave up dressing for consultants and viewers and bosses to dress the way that makes me happy. I gave up being forbidden to have any side jobs. Couldn't speak at groups like this, not able to sell my children's weather books, to now being able to pretty much explore any paid gig I want. I gave up helping my employers meet their goals to instead put my own dreams into action in order to meet my goals. What about you? Have you given up a piece of yourself to do something that you didn't really want to do or you didn't really choose? Even if you're retired, is there something that you should give up that maybe is robbing you of your joy or robbing you of something that you could gain if you were to give it up? One of the big things that I have learned in my nearly 30 years of meteorology is that life is a lot like weather. It's a big concept that I've kind of come to the realization of. And I have what I call my forecast for life. It's made up of 4 key principles. The first one is that weather constantly changes. We know this, right? The earth doesn't just stand still. The earth rotates, it rotates around the sun. Everything that makes up the weather is constantly moving and constantly changing. Life is always changing as well. We have sunshine and blue sky days, and we have stormy and hurricane days, right? The other thing, the second key principle, is that weather can't be controlled. Just like our lives can't be controlled, neither can the weather. Weather won't change if we complain. That's the third key principle. You can complain all you want about, oh, how that rain ruined it, or oh, how that meteorologist got it wrong again. But I'm telling you, complaining isn't going to change it, right? And of course, the fourth key principle is that the weather won't change if you worry about it. You can worry all day long that it's going to rain on Saturday at your granddaughter's wedding, and guess what? No matter how much you worry, you cannot stop the rain. You cannot change the rain. Have you ever seen this meme? It's a quote from Irma Bombeck. Remember her? Funny author back in the day. Worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it never gets you anywhere. I have this saved on my phone so I can constantly look at it and remind myself to stop worrying about things. So if we can't worry and we can't complain in order to change the weather, in order to change our lives, what can we do instead? Well, we let go of what we can't control and we focus on what we can. Look for ways to turn tough circumstances into opportunities for growth and wellness. So what kinds of things can you control? Well, you can control your attitude, right? I always tell my kids, you can't control other people. You can only control your reaction to them. You can control your diet. Eat your fruits and vegetables instead of all the Snickers bars. You know, your mom says it, your doctor says it. Keep your immune system strong. You can choose when and how much to exercise. You don't have to go run 25 miles. You can walk to the mailbox, and then you walk to the end of the street, and then maybe you walk around the block, and then you go 2 times around the block. You can start small, right? You don't have to start off as a marathon runner. What else can we control? We can control our mindset. We can practice gratitude. What can I find to be thankful for in this circumstance? What can I learn from this bad situation, tough situation, stormy situation in my life? There's a common phrase in weather that is about flooding that actually reminds me of practicing gratitude. Maybe you've heard it before on the news. Perhaps it's turn around, don't drown. This was a slogan that was started by the National Weather, like a campaign slogan started by the National Weather Service several years ago. And they started it because they realized that more than half of all flood-related drownings occurred when a car would drive through a flooded road. I mean, think about that. More than half of all flood-related deaths could be avoided if people just didn't drive their car through a flooded street. This can be applied to your life too. As you approach that situation, that flooded road, that thing that could drag you under, the illness, this negative circumstance, instead of going through it and not knowing if the road is washed out and getting pulled under and allowing it to pull you under, instead you turn around. How do you turn around? How do you not drown in the floodwaters of life? You practice gratitude. You find sunshine in the storm. And I know sometimes that's hard to do. Sometimes you have to find the teeny tiniest little thing to be positive about when all of this negative stuff is surrounding you. But if you can focus even on that small little positive thing, to me, that's the best way that I have found to be able to navigate through the so-called floodwaters of life and turn around and not drown in them. The other thing that I've learned about life and weather that I try to apply to life about the weather is that resilience is really key to surviving the storms of life. Have you ever noticed that palm trees withstand hurricane force winds better than other trees? After a hurricane comes through, trees are knocked down, fences are blown over, but the palm trees are often left standing. And that's because they can bend and flex and adapt. In fact, royal palms can bend 40 to 50 degrees and not break. That's because they don't have branches like other trees. And the other trees are rigid. So palm trees have better tools for survival. Now, a hurricane will still beat them up. They lose their fronds, but they're often the last tree left standing after a hurricane comes through. So my question to you is, are you resilient like a palm tree? If something isn't going your way, and something is beyond your control that's in your path, can you come to grips with the fact that the world doesn't work the way we want it to all the time? We have to decide how we're going to react to a situation. Do you wrestle control away from the powers that be, or can you adapt to the change and rise above the challenge? Resilience doesn't take pain away. I understand that there's pain in this room. Perhaps a recent cancer diagnosis, another illness. Maybe you've just lost someone close to you. Maybe a dementia diagnosis. Pain is real in life. And it's not just a flippant, suck it up, be resilient, you'll be fine. No, resilience won't take that pain away. It will just help improve your ability to handle the challenges that are inevitably headed our way. So again, I ask, are you resilient? And if not, what can you do to build your resilience? This is my forecast for Growing Bolder. If you want to live your best life with passion and purpose, right, while discovering your what's next, while reinventing yourself at any age, find thankfulness, practice gratitude. Find your tribe. That's what we call it at Growing Bolder. Find your people if you don't have your people. The village is a great place to find your tribe and find your people. Are your closest friends people who build you up while holding you accountable? Or are your closest friends people who tear you down? Eat healthy, exercise, take care of yourself, take time for mental breaks, get adequate sleep, right? All of these things so that when the rain arrives in your life, if you can bend and flex and adapt, you're better able to withstand those wind gusts that will inevitably try to blow you over. Remember, the sun is always shining, right? At night, we don't see it because of the Earth's rotation. On a cloudy day, the sun is still there. On a stormy day, the sun is still there, but you can't see it unless you rise above the clouds and the storms. Storms can't be stopped. They're still going to come. They can't be avoided. The only thing that we can do is prepare. And preparation comes from knowing the forecast. So as you move forward in your own transitions and finding your own what's next, remember this. Life, just like weather, constantly changes. Complaining about it won't change it. Worrying about it won't change it. Storms won't last forever, right? We have to be resilient. We have to practice gratitude so that we don't get pulled under in the floodwaters of life. My career began by accident. But leaving to find my what's next was not an accident. Using my forecast for Growing Bolder can help you too find your passion and purpose while being prepared for the storms of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. All right, let's put this thing in the garage. I want to wrap it up with several slides here. Don't be scared, prepared is what Amy just said. And, it really reflects what Growing Bolder is all about. We talk all the time about prehabilitation, preparing for the inevitable setbacks of life. How important is that? Well, U.S. life expectancy varies according to the source, but I think Dr. Vonda Wright earlier said 79.1, almost 80, so let's go with that. 79 for women and 75 for men. But take a look at this. The average life expectancy at 50 for a woman with an unhealthy lifestyle is 79, the same as it is at birth, and for a man, 75. But life expectancy at 50 for a woman with a healthy lifestyle is 93, and for a man it's 87. That's an additional 14 years. For women, 12 years for men, and for the most part, it's health span. And of course, we know the components of a healthy lifestyle. Amy Sweezy just listed them for us. One of the most important is the one that everybody's talking about right now, and it's loneliness. In fact, the U.S. Surgeon General, 2 weeks ago, issued a 68, 80-page report that called loneliness a U.S. epidemic. One of the number one threats to our overall health and well-being. 1 in 2 U.S. adults experience loneliness. How big a deal is that? It's been compared to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Lonely people have a 30% increase in mortality at any particular time. Social connection is as important to us as is food, water, clothing, and shelter. The people that are most satisfied with their relationships at the age of 50 are the healthiest at age 80. This is the Harvard Study of Adult Development. It began back in 1938, 85 years ago. JFK was in the very first year. It's expanded over the decades. Thousands of people are in it. And the number one study, the number one fact that has come out of this study, one of the world's longest longitudinal studies, is that the most important thing that you can have at the age of 50 is strong social relationships. The greatest predictor of your health at the age of 80. More important than anything. So let's talk about a couple of takeaways if we can. Have you heard of John Rivers? He's the guy who has the John Rivers barbecue all over. And when the pandemic hit, his 20-some restaurants, like all restaurants across the state and most across the country, were shut down immediately. And a lot of the produce on Florida farms began to rot. And at the same time, schools closed, and children who were reliant on that one good lunch at school no longer had it. And at the same time, many of their parents lost their job. Food insecurity was at an all-time high here in the state of Florida. So John Rivers dreamed big. He hired 300 people. He got trucks. He made deals with farmers to rescue produce from the field before it rotted. He brought it back. He turned it into meals. He delivered it through 46 different sites, and within 1 year, he served 1.8 million meals to Floridians who needed it.
If your dream doesn't require a miracle, you're not dreaming big enough. And I believe that. Why wouldn't you tackle the world? Take the biggest mountain on. That's a thrill of it. It gives purpose when you have passion about something. And it's not always money. Some of the greatest lessons that I've learned in my life is the impact you can make in people's lives just by your words, just by your encouragement that you give them or the time that you pour into them. And that opportunity happens not only every day, but for every single person that you meet. I've had a challenge that I write down and I keep it in front of me often. Everybody that I meet today, can I add to their life? Can I lift their spirits in one way or another? It doesn't mean be disingenuous, but be sincere and truly compassionate for them, because we never know what people are going through.
What a great dream, what a great purpose, what a great passion. We have to believe in ourselves, but it's easy to forget who we are. It's difficult to discover who we might be. Dr. Bill Thomas, I don't know if you remember him. He was one of the speakers at our original Launchpad event at the Sharon back in 2019. He's the guy that deinstitutionalized nursing homes, assisted living. Let's face it, they were like prisons 20 years ago. They strapped people to the bed. He had the great idea, let's bring in pets, let's open up gardens, let's give these older adults autonomy. Let's let them go outside when they want. Let's let them eat when they want. Let's let them eat what they want. He believed that he could do more, and he believes that we can all do more.
I think the biggest takeaway, the biggest thing to remember is you be you. What matters is you, what's inside of you. And I think, when I think of aging, I think of almost like a sculptor who's got a big block of stone, and he kind of knows, or she knows, that in there's this great thing, and you just chip away. And that's what aging does for us. It chips away all the stuff that's not us. All the stuff all the illusions, all the wrong-headed ideas. If you pay attention and you live a long time, you get rid of that stuff and you become more like your true self.
We are all chipping away. How important is our power of belief? Ellen Langer is a renowned social psychologist from Harvard. She's done multiple amazing studies. This is one that I don't think I've shared before. It's the chambermaid study, and she had a group of hotel maids. She got them all together and said, how often do you work out? And they all said, not at all. We're too busy working. We don't have money to join a gym. So she divided them up into two groups. In one group, she got them together and she said, you know, what you guys do every day mimics the exercises that they do in the gym. When you make the beds, when you scrub the tubs, when you vacuum the floors. She didn't tell that to the other group. And after 6 weeks, the group that thought that what they were doing mimicked exercise lost weight, they lowered their blood pressure, they lowered their body mass index. The only thing different that they did during those 6 weeks is that they thought that what they were doing was kind of like exercise. The control group that wasn't told that had none of those positive changes at all. It's the psychology of belief. We can't just dream. We can't just believe. We have to persist. In the course of 1 year, Hall of Fame broadcaster Dick Vitale was diagnosed with cancer 3 times. He had a precancerous growth on his throat. He had bile duct blockage. He underwent 7 surgeries, all at the age of 87. And we went to visit with him in his home. One of the first interviews he gave before he went back to work, and he shared how he got through it.
Never ever believe in can't. Don't allow can't to be part of your life. Simple advice. Simple. I've applied that everything. I've heard her words while I was laying in a bed doing chemo, depressed at night. Heard my mom's words and heard Jimmy V's words. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. I heard those words over and over. People say that's corny. It's corny. Well, it might be corny to them, but it wasn't corny to me, laying in that bed, hearing those words echoing to me, giving me that impetus to want to get better. I get very emotional because it was a tough 8 months, man, doing that chemo.
You got to dream, you got to believe, and you got to persist. He now has a what's next because he did all of that. He's also got a powerful passion. The Dick Vitale Fund for Pediatric Cancer has raised over $55 million. And I want to leave you with a video because Vonda showed you a picture of Banana George. Banana was a friend of ours. He gave me a call when he was 93 years old, and he said, Mark, I'm going to go barefoot water skiing one more time tomorrow. 93 at the time, and I knew he had been in bed with pneumonia for over 6 months. This is a guy who broke his back 6 times, arthritis throughout his entire body. As you see, he needed help to walk from his house to the boat behind his house. His wife said, don't do it. His doctor said, don't do it. George said, no, this is what I live to do, and I'm going to do it. His wrists were so weak he couldn't hang on but for a minute. At 93 years old, he tumbles over, pops up and says, I'm okay. And when we were done, I said, George, why did you do that? And without hesitating, he said this.
All of life is up and down. I think I don't wait for the next thing, but I make the next thing happen.
And there you go. In a nutshell. At 93 years old, arthritic, crippled, barely able to walk, he made the next thing happen. And that's really what we face. The question is, will we make it happen? Life, as we all know, has no guarantees. We have to dig in. As T-Mac, my buddy, said not long ago, we got to have a certain level of intent, because if we don't, life will push us around. We'll be buffeted about by things that have nothing to do with us. Circumstances will determine what our life is like. The truth that we learn every single day from the ordinary people that we tell stories on, many times people here in the villages, if you dream, if you believe, and if you persist, just about anything is possible.